Hey, how's it going everyone, and welcome back to another video documenting my eternal suffering via self-inflicted challenges. Previously, we took down Pokemon Black 2 version using only bug-type Pokemon. That challenge was brutal, but also a ton of fun, and I'm glad you all enjoyed it. However, I wanted the next challenge to be much harder, so I decided to figure out, could I beat Pokemon Soul Silver using only grass-type Pokemon? Here's the thing about grass types in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They received absolutely zero support from the game devs. Their secondary type diversity is extremely limited, and their level up moveset is horrendous. To make matters worse, all of the good TMs in this game to help them, like Toxic for example, are post-game exclusives. So finding a solid move lineup for the team is going to be rough. I wanted a difficult challenge, but this one was brutal. Grass types are notoriously bad in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They have to deal with half the gym leaders having type advantage over them, and two other gym leaders that resist everything that they want to do. Couple this with a rival with an entire team of threats, and the majority of this game has some sort of advantage against any team I put together in this run. This challenge did everything it could to prevent me from winning. It honestly felt like the game was out to get me at times. I also apologize for how long this video is, but there was just so much suffering that occurs in this video, and a lot that happens I needed to include and cover. I didn't want to leave out the true pain of this challenge or water it down. Can I overcome this insane obstacle and build a team of grass-type Pokemon that can take down Heart Gold and Soul Silver? Let's find out, shall we? Our cursed challenge opens up with us going and seeing that bitch boy Elm and getting our first starter. I go with Chikorita for obvious reasons and name him Samos. Shoutouts to anyone who gets the reference. Samos is hasty natured, which I'm a bit mixed on. On one hand, the extra speed will be really nice, but I don't like how it comes at the expense of his defense. We make our way north, get the egg from Mr. Pokemon, and receive a call from bitch boy Elm that the lab was broken into by a child, and we, another child, are needed immediately. Elm, a grown-ass man, really said, I need a child instead of I need an adult. On the way back, I grind Samos some levels to make the silver fight easier. The first silver fight begins with Cyndaquil versus Samos. This is your standard first rival battle fight in Pokemon, where two Pokemon trade tackles until one falls. Luckily for me, Samos was level 10, so I could use Poison Powder to take it down a little faster. This is the easiest Silver is going to be in this run. In fact, every single Silver fight in this game will be harder than the last. He is going to give me massive problems down the road. We return to the lab where a cop accuses us of being the suspect who broke into the lab. Despite seeing who did it and what he looked like, Elm just sits there silently and says absolutely nothing. It's Lyra that proves our innocence to the cop. A grown-ass man was robbed, and it ends up being two children who weren't even there who help the officer while Elm just sits there. If it wasn't clear by now, I really do not like Elm. If it was Rowan in his prime, he would have just stabbed Silver or something. Here's the thing about Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They are not friendly to grass types, and the first gym is no exception. Faulkner and his flying types pack a punch for the early game, especially his early evolved Pidgeotto. I'm going to need backup for this fight. So, on my way to Violet City, I capture a Bellsprout. I name him Zook. Shoutouts to anyone who gets the reference. Zook is adamant in nature, which is going to be incredibly useful. I spent some time grinding up the team in Dark Cave before heading to Sprout Tower. Sprout Tower was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. No real issues came up and we cleared it with no problems. Let's just skip to the Faulkner fight. Here's the team going into the Faulkner fight. Let's do this. The Faulkner fight begins with Zook taking on Pidgey. Zook lands a sleep powder right out of the gate. I then have Zook set up a wrap on Pidgey to get some consistent residual damage going. My luck immediately runs out because Pidgey gets the turn 1 wake and lands a tackle on Zook. This is going to be a trend of me getting bad luck all throughout the challenge, so I hope you're all prepared to watch me suffer. Zook follows up by missing a sleep powder and getting hit by Sand Attack. Zook and Pidgey spend 3 turns trading wraps and tackles, and Pidgey goes down. Zook clutched up with those wraps. The fun would be short-lived as Pidgeotto comes in and immediately one-shots Zook with Gust, then crits Samos with Gust to take him down in 2 turns. This is going to be a common occurrence in this challenge. After that first attempt, I knew beating Faulkner with the current team was not going to be happening, so I head back to Dark Cave and grind for a few more levels. While training the team, Samos evolved into Bayleaf. Now that we have a bit more bulk, let's give this another try. The Faulkner rematch opens up with Zook against Pidgey. The battle starts off strong with Zook missing a wrap and Pidgey connecting a Sand Attack. Zook connects a couple of wraps, while Pidgey connects a couple more Sand Attacks, dropping Zook's accuracy to -3. When Zook starts missing wraps, I swap him out for Samos to clear his accuracy debuffs. I then hard swap Zook back in, but this stupid Pidgey will not stop spamming Sand Attack. Zook clutches up though, and connects his next wrap to drop the Pidgey, despite being at -2 accuracy. Pidgeotto is back and ready for round 2. Zook tanks a couple gusts and holds on with 3 HP. Zook clutched up and connected the poison powder to put Pidgeotto on a timer before going down to the 3rd gust. Samos is last, and man am I glad I had him evolved. Samos and Pidgeotto trade tackle and gust the first turn before Pidgeotto started spamming roosts for a couple turns. The combination of tackles and poison damage kept Pidgeotto in the yellow and playing defensively. However, after the second roost, Pidgeotto takes the offensive and starts going for Gust to take Samos down to yellow health. 2 can play at this game though, and I have Samos heal up with Synthesis before finishing off the Pidgeotto with a couple more tackles, winning us the battle and our first gym badge. This was only the first gym badge in the game, and it gave me problems. I can't imagine how difficult the other gyms are going to get if this is supposedly the easiest. We need to expand the team. As I make my way south to Azalea Town, I capture a Hoppip and name him Jet. I captured Jet because I thought his typing would be useful for Bugsy. However, Jet wouldn't learn his first flying move until the level 40s with Bounce. He can't even learn Fly. So I end up benching Jet before he ever sees combat. I spend some time grinding in Union Cave to prepare for the Bugsy fight. Before we fight Bugsy though, we need backup. So I head to Ilex Forest and capture a Paris. I name him David. Shoutouts to anyone who gets the reference. David is naive in nature, which I'm not upset about. If you're tanking with a Parasect, you're doing something wrong, so I'll gladly accept the extra speed. The problem with the Parasect line is that they won't learn their first grass type move until level 33. So I teach David Bullet Seed with the TM I found to buy me some time. Like I said in the intro, Heart Gold and Soul Silver hates grass types and gives them completely trash movesets to level up with and offers no TMs until post-game to help them. Slowpoke well goes by without any issues, so I'm just gonna skip it and move right into the second Silver fight. The problem with Silver is that most of his team resists grass type moves, and his Cyndaquil will always outspeed most of my team for the entirety of the game. He is going to be a massive hurdle to overcome for this entire game. The battle opens up with David taking on Ghastly. Ghastly opens up with a mean look while David connects a Stun Spore. David then connects a 5-hit Bullet Seed to drop Ghastly to almost half health, while Ghastly wastes a turn going for Spite. David then connects a second 5-hit Bullet Seed in a row to drop Ghastly to low red health, as Ghastly takes its own life with Curse. For some reason, Silver sends in Zubat next instead of Quilava and goes for Bite. David connects a big stun spore once again to slow this Zubat down. David goes for a couple scratches to drop Zubat to yellow health before going down to a combination of curse damage and an Astonish from Zubat. David fought hard though, I'm proud of him. The reason I didn't swap in Samos here was because I need Samos at full HP to fight the Quilava. Speaking of Samos, Zook is up next. After trading a couple misses, Zook drops Zubat with a crit wrap. That was easy. Last up is Quilava, and I have Zook connect a stun spore after Quilava lands a smoke screen to lower his accuracy. Zook goes down to a combination of Ember and Quick Attack after he misses a wrap. Doesn't matter though, Zook got the stun spore off, his job is done. Last up is Samos, and what followed next is incredibly stupid. It took 9 tackles for Samos to bring down Quilava, 7 if you don't count misses. During these 9 turns, Quilava never attacked once. He just spammed Leer and Smokescreen. Why would he use Leer when Ember is special? Why didn't he attack once? What's even crazier is that during these 9 turns, he only got fully paralyzed once. If it were me, it would have been 4 to 5 times minimum. Now that Silver is done with for now, we can head to the second gym battle against Bugsy and his bug types. Growing up, I always thought Bugsy was a girl just by the way he dressed. Kinda sus if you ask me. Anyways, here's the team going into the Bugsy fight. So far, we are hard carried by Samos. David and Zook are useful in battle, but they don't hit hard and are mostly here for the status moves. Bugsy's Scyther also terrifies me. Let's just see how this goes. The battle opens up with David taking on Scyther. The battle opens up strong as David gets one-shot by a crit U-turn from Scyther as it swaps out to Kakuna. I send in Zook and try to land a poison powder, but completely forgot that Kakuna is not affected by it. Zook gets the stun spore off next turn as Kakuna starts going for poison sting. Zook and Kakuna start trading wraps and poison stings while Kakuna's shed skin cured it of its paralysis. The two spend many turns trading wraps and poison stings before Bugsy heals the Kakuna back up to full health with a super potion. Here we go again. Another dozen or so turns later, Kakuna goes down to wrap damage while Zook is standing at 3 HP. Scyther comes back in and the battle is over from there as he goes for quick attack to drop Zook. Samos comes in last and sets up Reflect to maybe give us a chance at victory as Scyther goes for Leer. Scyther then goes for 2 more Leers as Samos does very little damage with a couple of tackles. Scyther then goes for a Focus Energy and one-shot Samos the next turn with a crit U-turn. 2 straight gyms with 2 straight first try failures. I know that this team isn't capable of taking down Bugsy right now, so instead of bashing my head against a wall, hoping for some fluke RNG to go my way, I immediately head out and start grinding up some levels on the team. During the grind, Zook evolves into Weepinbell. Here's the team going into the rematch. Let's do this. The battle once again starts off with David taking on Scyther. Scyther goes for U-turn, but David tanks it with 1 HP left and puts Kakuna to sleep with Spore. I don't want to see any Paris hate in the comments. This is one of the dumbest 1v1s you will ever see. David starts scratching Kakuna while he stays asleep from Spore. However, the Kakuna kept staying asleep for 3 turns and her shed skin would only proc on the 3rd turn, meaning I could use David to put it right back to sleep and start scratching again before it could even attack. This went on for 10 turns before Kakuna woke up early and dropped David with a poison sting. A great effort once again from David. Zook is next and I have him drop the Kakuna with a wrap. Scyther is back and here's where Bugsy makes a misplay. He kept the Scyther in and used Focus Energy, which allowed Zook to land a poison powder and put this thing on a timer. Scyther follows up with a Leer when a crit U-turn 100% kills, and Zook lands a wrap. Now, Scyther has poison and wrap damage at the end of every turn. Scyther then for some reason goes for quick attack and does little damage relative to what U-turn would have done. Zook connects a wrap to drop it to yellow health but the citrus berry brings it back to green. The two of them trade another quick attack and wrap before Scyther finally goes for U-turn and drops Zook and sends in Metapod. Samos comes back out for the 2v1 and sets up Reflect turn 1. With Reflect up, Metapod only deals 1 damage to Samos, so Samos is able to take him down with Tackle after a little bit. However, before dropping the Metapod, Samos heals up with Synthesis and sets up a fresh Reflect. Scyther is last, and she goes for a U-turn to deal a good chunk to Samos. Samos, though, decides it's time to win and crits Scyther with Tackle to drop it to red health, where poison damage finishes it off, winning us the battle and our second gym badge. That was extremely lucky. Let's see if we can keep this momentum going, though. We finally get a break from gym leaders who have type advantage over us. Don't misunderstand though, Whitney is a very tough gym leader and the source of a lot of trauma for many kids who grew up with Pokemon Gold and Silver like I did. This isn't going to be a free battle by any means. Now that we can use Cut to get through Ilex Forest, I teach my team Headbutt from the tutor and use it to capture and execute. I name him Deku. Shoutouts to anyone who gets the reference. Deku is bold in nature, which I really like for him. Extra defense at the cost of his attack is pretty nice. He will be reliant on physical moves early on, but hopefully by late game, I can have him using mostly special moves. After clearing out all the trainers in Goldenrod City, I put Deku in the daycare to grind him some levels, as the Pokemon in these routes don't give jack for experience. Once Deku is strong enough to fight on his own, I take him out of the daycare and grind him up to par with the team. Fun fact, I was recording this footage on a Saturday, so I was able to compete in the bug catching contest, which I won. By competing in the competition, I was awarded a Sunstone. This will be important for later. With all the trainers cleared out and the team up to speed, it's time to take on Whitney. Here's the team going into the Whitney fight. Let's do this. The battle opens up with Clefairy taking on Deku. The battle starts with Deku landing a Leech Seed to put Clefairy on a timer, while Clefairy goes for Mimic to learn Leech Seed herself. Deku then connects a Hypnosis to put the Clefairy to sleep. I then hard swapped to David, as I knew I would want Deku for the Miltank. David went for a Bullet Seed, which took Clefairy down to red health, where Leech Seed damage was able to finish it off. Miltank is last, and she immediately flinches David with a Stomp 2 turns in a row. Then David drops down to 1 HP, allowing him to go for a Stun Spore. David is such a beast. Unfortunately though, Miltank has a Lumberry, so she was immediately able to drop David the next turn with Rollout. This is bad. Miltank is going on to Rollout number 3, and my entire team gets outsped by this thing. This is why Whitney is dangerous for anyone. Deku is up next, and he tanks the 3rd rollout and misses Hypnosis. Fantastic start. The 4th rollout is able to drop Deku to low yellow health, and he connects the 2nd Hypnosis. Deku is able to get the Leech Seed off on Miltank, and when Miltank wakes up, she goes for Attract. This just made things so much more difficult. Deku, though, is no simp, and he pushes through the attraction to set up Reflect, making this Miltank a lot less scary. Miltank goes for a couple stomps, flinching Deku on the first one, but Deku pushes through the flinch and the attraction on turn 2 to land another Hypnosis, putting Miltank back to sleep. Deku was unfortunately only able to get 1 Bullet Seed off during the 3 turns Miltank was asleep. The Bullet Seed, coupled with Leech Seed, was enough to take Miltank down to low health, but a Super Potion from Whitney was enough to send this back to square one. I got impatient after the heal and swapped out to Samos. Miltank wakes up and flinches Samos with a Stomp. Samos is able to set up another Reflect after tanking a Stomp and not flinching. Now, with Reflect and Leech Seed, Samos is not going to go down very easily to this Miltank. She then follows up by setting up Attract. Samos then once again says that he's had enough of this battle and pushes through Attraction and crits a Razor Leaf to drop Miltank to red health, and Leech Seed takes it down to a sliver. Unfortunately for me, Whitney uses another Super Potion. When are we going to get a Pokemon game that just doesn't allow anyone to use items in battle? Samos gets a crit headbutt to take Miltank to low health, and a few turns of Leech Seed damage while Samos is stuck being in love is enough to take down Miltank and win us the battle and our third gym badge on the first try. Whitney is always tough and annoying to battle, so I'm glad I was able to escape with the win on the first try. Will the next gym be as simple? I seriously doubt it. Now that the Whitney filler arc is over, we can move on to Ecruteak City where Morty awaits us. Before I head to Ecruteak City though, I head to the Pokeathlon and pick up a couple of leaf stones. I spawned in the BP to get them right away, so I didn't have to spend many hours grinding for BP. I hope you're all okay with this. I also was limited to 1 leaf stone per day, and with the stones only available on Saturdays, I had to come back the next Saturday I was recording this game and grab the second one. Don't get me wrong though, the Pokeathlon is my favorite part of this game. I just want to get the recording done on this video in a timely fashion. I used the first leaf stone to evolve Deku into Exeggutor. Now we can head to Ecruteak City. I'm not gonna lie, Morty terrifies me. His entire team is Ghost and Poison type and shuts down anything my team wants to do. I can't capture any additional team members that I have plans to add, so this team will have to suffice for now. Luckily for me though, this is where Soul Silver opens up the map, so I head east to Mahogany Town and clear out all the trainers on the way. I then head west to Olivine City and do the same. During the trip to Olivine, David evolves into Parasect. I also spend time in the lighthouse clearing out all the trainers. Nothing eventful happens during these adventures, so I'm just gonna skip over them. It's time once again to fight Silver. This team of his is starting to get dangerous. Let's do this. The third Silver battle opens up with Samos taking on Ghastly. Samos opens up with the Razor Leaf to deal almost half of Ghastly's health as he retaliates with the Confuse Ray. Samos hits himself next turn as Ghastly traps him in with a mean look. Samos hurts himself a second turn in a row as Ghastly takes himself down to red health with the curse. Samos finally pushes through confusion but ends up missing the Razor Leaf because why not? Samos is able to push through confusion again and lands a Razor Leaf to drop the Ghastly, but goes down himself to the curse damage. That was an ugly battle. Next up is David versus Zubat. David outspeeds the Zubat and puts him to sleep with a Spore. David, the animal that he is, takes down Zubat in a couple turns with a slash and a cut. Quilava is next, and he goes for the Smoke Screen, which causes David to miss his Spore. David misses his next Spore as well because -1 accuracy for the player is equal to the AI being at -6 because of fairness. And David goes down to an Ember and Flame Wheel. Generation 4 had the most rigged RNG out of any Pokemon game in the series. It was super unforgiving. Deku is next, and Quilava goes for a Smoke Screen again as Deku misses a Leech Seed. I think we all know where this is going. Quilava goes for a second Smoke Screen as Deku misses a second straight Leech Seed. Another turn passes, and it's another turn where Quilava goes for Smoke Screen and Deku misses a Leech Seed. I need this thing seeded to take it down. The reality is that I need Deku to win this fight, so I hard swap him out to Zook to reset his accuracy as Quilava goes for, you guessed it, another Smoke Screen. The next turn, Quilava drops Zook to yellow health with Ember as Zook connects a massive poison powder to put this thing on a short timer. Zook survives the next Ember on a sliver and hits Quilava with Acid to deal a modest amount of damage. A quick attack next turn finished Zook off. I send Deku back out, even though I'm expecting him to start missing everything again at the first Smoke Screen. Quilava goes for a single Smoke Screen here, and David misses the Bullet Seed as a result. I'm so glad I had my mic off when I was recording this because I was fuming at this point. Quilava goes for a second Smoke Screen once again, and Deku actually landed a Bullet Seed this time, but only a 2-hitter. Poison damage was able to finish off the Quilava. That was the dumbest Quilava battle I think the world has ever seen. Last up is Magnemite, and despite all odds, Deku connects a Leech Seed on the first attempt. Magnemite lands a Thunder Wave to paralyze Deku. The problem though is that this Magnemite has Sonic Boom, which nothing on my team wants to take too many hits from. I have no idea why, but despite being at -2 accuracy, Deku decided to connect a Hypnosis to put Magnemite to sleep and continue leeching damage with Leech Seed. Deku then takes advantage of the sleeping Magnemite by missing a Bullet Seed and then connecting a second one for only 2 hits. A true game changer. Magnemite wakes up, lands a Supersonic, and Deku hurts himself that same turn. Magnemite goes for Sonic Boom as Deku gets fully paralyzed. Magnemite confuses Deku once again as he misses Hypnosis again. Deku continues to put in an absolute MVP performance the next turn by getting hit by Sonic Boom from Magnemite and hitting himself in confusion. Legendary performance. Leech Seed then finished off Magnemite, winning us the battle. We did not win that battle because of Deku. We won that battle in spite of Deku. That was horrible. And the worst part is, it only gets worse from here. The silver battle was a wake-up call for me. Like I said, Morty is going to be a brutal battle. And with how poorly the silver fight went, I knew fighting Morty at level 25 wasn't going to happen. So I spent some time grinding the team up to level 30, and this grind was long and slow. With how poor Soul Silver's level curves are made, grinding is incredibly slow and tedious, but it needs to be done. Here's the team going into the Morty battle. It's not much, but it's an honest team. It really comes down to what kind of RNG I can get. My main strategy with Morty is to avoid him locking one Pokemon into curse damage and prevent him from using Dream Eater to stay healed up. So I'm going to keep swapping Pokemon out to avoid the Dream Eater spam. Let's do this. The Morty battle is underway and opens up with Deku taking on Ghastly. Deku lands a big Hypnosis right out of the gate and puts Ghastly to sleep. I get lucky with the sleep in this matchup as Ghastly stays asleep for the maximum 3 turns without an early wake. During these 3 turns, Deku is able to take down the Ghastly with 3 Bullet Seeds. Good start to the battle so far. Haunter number 1 is up second, and Deku misses Hypnosis as Haunter goes for Curse. I make the decision to hard swap out Deku into David to avoid the curse damage. Deku is way too important for this matchup. As David comes in, Haunter misses the confusion, giving me the free swap in. Haunter doesn't miss the next turn though, and puts David to sleep. I stick to the strategy though, and hard swap David out and back into Deku as Haunter tried to go for Nightmare. Deku is then able to put the Haunter to sleep with Hypnosis and seed it the next turn. The turn after, Deku connects a Bullet Seed to drop Haunter to a sliver of health with a 3-hit. Haunter stays asleep and goes down to Leech Seed. So far so good. Deku's putting in some great work right now. Gengar is third for Morty, and this is where things get tricky. Gengar goes for Mean Look for some reason, as Deku connects a huge Hypnosis to put it to sleep. My luck runs out though, as the next turn, Deku misses the Leech Seed as Gengar loses a turn to sleep. Gengar stays asleep for a second turn as Deku connects the Leech Seed on the second attempt. Gengar woke up the next turn and landed a Shadow Ball for massive damage. Deku went for Bullet Seed, but didn't do much damage. Gengar dropped Deku the next turn with a Shadow Ball. Deku put up a great fight. Let's see if the rest of the team can finish the battle. Zook is up and gets immediately put to sleep by Gengar. 2 of my remaining 3 team members are now asleep. This isn't good. I stay committed to my strategy and hard swap out to Samos as Gengar lands a Shadow Ball for almost half health and gets the special defense drop. This is bad. Gengar heals himself with a Citrus Berry after Leech Seed damage took him to yellow health. With the special defense drop, the next Shadow Ball finished off Samos. 2 team members left, and both of them are currently asleep. David is back, and Gengar makes a misplay here and goes for Mean Look, as David loses 1 turn to sleep. I have no idea what this Gengar is doing, as the next turn it tries going for Sucker Punch of all moves. David would dissolve with a Shadow Ball, but he tries going for Sucker Punch. David loses a second turn to sleep, and Gengar goes for Shadow Ball to drop David to just under half health. He took that better than I thought he would. David wakes up early and lands the Spore to put Gengar to sleep. Gengar stays asleep turn 1 as David lands a 5-hit Bullet Seed to drop Gengar to low red health for Leech Seed to finish off. That was insanely clutch. Again, I don't want to hear any smack talk about David. Last up is Haunter number 2, and for some reason opens up with a curse as David puts it to sleep with Spore. I hard swap to Zook as Haunter stays asleep. Zook and Haunter both spend the first 2 turns asleep, but the next turn, Haunter wakes up and goes for Nightshade for 23 damage as Zook wakes up and goes for Vine Whip to take it down to red health. Morty heals it up to full with the Hyper Potion as Zook keeps Vine Whipping. Haunter then goes for Mean Look for some reason as Zook goes for another Vine Whip. After another turn of Haunter making an odd play by going for Sucker Punch and Zook going for Vine Whip, Morty uses another Hyper Potion. The two of them trade Vine Whips and Nightshades for a couple of turns, but on the third turn, Zook crits the Haunter to finish it off and win us our 4th gym badge on our first attempt. That was a crazy battle. For those of you who might be wondering why I didn't use Stun Spore on the final Haunter, it's because if Zook went down, I wouldn't be able to take him down with David without putting him to sleep with Spore. So I kept him status free just to be safe, but in the end it didn't matter. That was a well-played game on my end. Not allowing Morty to abuse sleep status is what made the difference here. Let's keep this momentum going. Thankfully, the next couple gym arcs are fairly short since I cleared out the other routes already for the most part. Next up is Chuck. We start surfing our way to Cyanwood City and make sure to clear out all the trainers on the way. While on our way to Cyanwood City, Samos evolved into Meganium. There isn't really much to do here, so let's just jump into the Chuck fight. Here is the team going into the Chuck fight. Ignore the Krabby, he's just here so we can surf and move boulders. Honestly, Chuck doesn't scare me a whole lot. His team has a weird Focus Punch gimmick, which never works, and his Poliwrath is weak to everything on my team. I'm not worried about this fight at all. Let's do this. It's important to enjoy the easy battles during these challenges while you can. They can be very few and far between, especially with a challenge like this one. The battle opens up with Zook taking on Primeape. Primeape opens up with a double team, but Zook isn't Deku, and he lands a Stun Spore to paralyze the Primeape. Zook misses the Vine Whip next turn though, as Primeape lands a Rock Slide to deal about 1/3 of his health. Zook lands the next Vine Whip though, as Primeape goes for a second double team. Maybe I should have poisoned this thing. Zook lands the next Vine Whip and dodges the Rock Slide. Then connects another Vine Whip while tanking the Rock Slide to drop Primeape to low yellow health. That makes Chuck use a Hyper Potion. Zook lands 3 more Vine Whips before going down to a Rock Slide. Not a bad start, all things considered. I send out Samos next and have him set up a Reflect as Primeape charges up for a Focus Punch. The Focus Punch did a whopping 30 damage. See why the Focus Punch strat isn't viable? Anyways, Samos drops the Primeape next turn with the Razor Leaf. The crit didn't matter. Last up for Chuck is a Poliwrath, and it goes down to a handful of Razor Leafs after a Hyper Potion heal halfway through, all while trying to make Fetch happen with a Focus Punch and Surf, which he never landed. The only damage he dealt was with 1 Surf. Like I said, easy gym battle. Now that we can legally buy drugs from the pharmacy since we have 5 gym badges, we can return to the lighthouse and heal Amphi the Ampharos, allowing us to battle Jasmine for the 6th gym badge. Before that though, Boba calls us and tells us that the Safari Zone is open, so I head to the Safari Zone and clear out all the trainers on the way. I head to the grass patch just outside of the Safari Zone and capture our 5th team member, a Gloom that I name Midori. Shouts to anyone who gets the reference. Midori is sassy in nature, which is alright, I guess. I don't like the reduced speed, but I like the extra special defense. Immediately after catching Midori, I give her the Sunstone that we won in the bug catching contest and evolve her into Blossom. Normally I evolve my Glooms into Vileplume, but I wanted to mix things up this playthrough. I head back towards Mahogany Town and farm experience for Midori on Golding while surfing to get her up to par. Let's see what she can do. Here's the team going into the Jasmine battle. Let's do this. The Jasmine battle is here at last, and it opens up with David taking on Magnemite. David outspeeds the Magnemite and puts it to sleep with a Spore. I then hard swap to Deku and land a Leech Seed on it while Magnemite paralyzes him with Thunder Wave. I then double back to David, and I did this for a couple reasons. First, I need Deku for the Steelix. Nothing on my team is going to brute force that thing, so I need to Leech Seed it. Secondly, I know the Magnemite don't do much to David, so it's an easy Leech Seed stall to drop them. As you can see here, all David needed to do to take down Magnemite was to keep it asleep and let Leech Seed and Bullet Seed do the work. Magnemite goes down slowly but surely, and out comes Steelix. Steelix sets up a sandstorm as David snaps out of confusion, pushes past paralysis, and connects a massive Spore, putting the Steelix to sleep. I then get the safe swap out to Deku. Steelix wakes up the next turn, but Deku is able to land a Leech Seed and put this monster on a much needed timer. I then hard swap David back in as Steelix lands an Iron Tail for massive damage and gets the defense drop to add insult to injury. David goes down next turn to Iron Tail. Midori makes her debut next and opens up by outspeeding and paralyzing the Steelix. The next turn, Midori goes for Magical Leaf as Steelix loses a second turn in a row to paralysis. Steelix loses a third turn in a row to paralysis as Midori goes for another Magical Leaf. Steelix goes down the next turn to Magical Leaf and Leech Seed damage. Last up is Magnemite, and Midori misses both of her Stun Spore attempts while Magnemite lands a Sonic Boom and paralyzes her with Thunder Wave. She lands the third one though, after taking a second Sonic Boom from Magnemite. Both Mons get fully paralyzed the next turn, and after tanking a Sonic Boom the turn after, I realized I wanted Midori alive to earn some experience from this. So, I swap in Samos and use Razor Leafs to take Magnemite down to low yellow health. However, Samos spent almost half of his turns getting fully paralyzed, which allowed Magnemite to take him down to low health. But a lucky paralysis break for me allowed Samos to finish it off, winning us our 6th gym badge on our first try. We have gotten 4 out of our 6 gym badges so far on our first try. I'm not gonna lie, that is much better than I thought we would be doing. After taking down Jasmine, we return to the Lake of Rage and eliminate a diseased red Gyarados and put it out of its misery and suffering. We then team up with Lance to storm the beaches of some random souvenir shop in Mahogany Town and take out all the Team Rocket grunts inside. The Rocket base isn't hard at all. By this point, your team is going to be much higher leveled than most of the trainers you'll face in here, so I clear it out with no problems. The Petrol fight was also super easy, but you'll want to remember him for later. Trust me on that. He's coming back with a vengeance. Once that is all done, we head back to the surface for our 7th gym, this time against Leader Price and his ice types. This battle is going to be either a walk in the park or a bloodbath. His entire team has super effective moves against my team, but so does my team against his. This battle is going to come down to speed and who can tank better. Here's the team going into the Price fight. Let's do this. The battle opens up with Midori taking on Seal. Midori opens up with a powerful Magical Leaf to nearly one-shot the Seal, who follows up by missing an Icy Wind. This baits out Price's first Hyper Potion. I actually make a misplay here and have Midori go for Poison Powder. I should have had her go for a couple more Magical Leafs and take it out that way. I say this because when Midori went for Magical Leaf next turn, she got a low roll, and Seal survived with the Sliver. and was then able to land an Icy Wind and lower her speed. Poison took down the seal at the end of the turn. Dugong is next and lands a powerful Aurora Beam to take Midori down to half health. She responds though with a powerful magical leaf of her own to take Dugong down to about a third of his max HP. Dugong then makes a big misplay here and goes for rest when he could have dropped Midori here with the high roll. Instead, Midori goes for magical leaf, crits, and one-shots Dugong. Strong start so far. Third and last is Pillow-Swine, who outspeeds Midori and drops her with an Ice Fang. David is next, and he tanks a Blizzard and connects a Spore to put the Pillow-Swine to sleep. I get very lucky here and get Pillow-Swine to stay asleep for 3 turns. During these 3 turns, David goes for Bullet Seeds, and with a couple of lucky crits, is able to drop Pillow-Swine and win us our 7th gym badge. That makes it 5 straight gym badges that we won on the first try. However, the 8th gym leader is Claire, an entirely different beast to put up with. For now though, we need to head back to Goldenrod City for the radio tower arc. Trust me, the game is about to get extremely difficult. The easy parts are all behind me now. Going into the radio tower arc, I wasn't super nervous about anything. Normally in this game, the radio tower is a total pushover, with the silver battle being the only really challenging part. Man, was I wrong here. I did not take it very seriously and it punished me hard for it. The radio tower itself wasn't too hard. The rocket grunts don't put up much of a fight here, and I'm able to make my way to Petrol for round 2. This battle though was a nail biter. Petrol's entire team is nothing but coughings and a wheezing, which gave my team more problems than I think he ever has. I have never struggled with Petrol like that before. I definitely underestimated him and the power of self-destruct. Next up is Silver Fight 4. The Silver Fight is back and underway, and man was this a nail biter. A brutal nail biter. The battle begins with David taking on Golbat. David tanks a powerful air cutter from Golbat and lands the Spore to put him to sleep. David was able to get a couple of slashes off while Golbat was asleep before it woke up and dropped David with Astonish. Samos is next, and he outspeeds and revenge drops the Golbat with a headbutt. Quilava is second, and I figured that Quilava would only have Flame Wheel, so I set up a Reflect while Quilava went for Smokescreen. Here we go again. Samos then lands a strong headbutt to bring Quilava to almost half of its health. Samos then tanks the Flame Wheel from Quilava. Samos drops the Quilava to low red health the next turn with another headbutt after tanking another Flame Wheel. However, Samos got burned off that Flame Wheel. Samos then missed the next headbutt and dropped to 3 HP with a combination of Flame Wheel and burn damage. The next turn, Quilava dropped Samos with a quick attack. One of the biggest chokes of the challenge. Next up is Zook, who survives a Flame Wheel from Quilava and drops it with an Acid. That thing was a menace. Sneasel is third, and it finishes off Zook with a feint attack. Midori is fifth for me, and she tanks a feint attack from Sneasel, but ends up missing her stun spore afterwards. She tanks another feint attack and lands the second stun spore. Midori does a decent amount of damage with the magical leaf and gets a lucky break as Sneasel gets fully paralyzed. Midori hits another magical leaf to drop Sneasel to yellow health and tanks an icy wind from Sneasel, but has her speed lowered. Midori takes down the Sneasel on the next turn. Magnemite is fourth, and I have Midori land a big stun spore on it after getting hit by a Sonic Boom. Midori then dealt about a third of Magnemite's health with Magical Leaf before going down to another Sonic Boom. Last is Deku, and he starts off strong by landing a Leech Seed on Magnemite as Magnemite lands a Thunder Wave. Deku then misses the Egg Bomb as Magnemite lands the Supersonic. Deku hurts himself in confusion as Magnemite lands another Sonic Boom. With Magnemite in low health, Deku, with so much on the line, hurts himself in confusion for a second turn in a row, then gets hit by another sonic boom. Deku snaps out of confusion and drops the Magnemite, who never got fully paralyzed once with the bullet seed. Last up for Silver is Haunter. Haunter opens with a super effective Shadow Ball to drop Deku right out of the gate, losing us the battle to Silver. Let's go again. Each of Silver's battles were close, but I ended up losing all of them due to terrible RNG luck involving endless turns of confusion and paralysis, while he hardly ever got paralyzed. Like I was saying earlier, the RNG in Generation 4 is the cruelest in the series. In no other game do I get screwed over by bad RNG than I do in Gen 4. It's still my favorite generation though. Anyways, I just need to keep at it, and I'll take this eventually with some good luck to come my way. Look at this sped up battle I'm showing here. This was my second attempt, and if this doesn't show you just how bad my RNG luck is, I don't know what will. Fully paralyzed on the turn that would have won it all for me. Fourth attempt and this happens. I changed up the starter and led with Zook this time against the Golbat. Zook tanked a strong air cutter to land a clutch stun spore, then followed up with an acid before going down to another air cutter. Midoriya is up next, and she starts spamming acids on the Golbat for 8 turns before finally taking it down. I got a lucky break though, as during those 8 turns, Golbat was paralyzed for 4 of them. Midori would have gone down if Golbat had got 1 extra turn to attack. Quilava is second, and he immediately drops Midori to a Flame Wheel. Samos is next, and I have him set up a Reflect as Quilava goes for Smokescreen. Samos connects a Headbutt for a good chunk of damage, but gets crit by a Flame Wheel during the follow-up. This is bad. Samos is way too important for this battle, so I have him go for Synthesis while he tanks a Flame Wheel. Samos connects another Headbutt to drop Quilava to low red health while tanking another Flame Wheel. However, Samos misses the next Headbutt as Quilava drops him to yellow health with Flame Wheel and the Reflect wears off. This is getting worse by the minute. That Headbutt miss was a game changer. Over the next 4 turns, I have Samos spam Synthesis and get a new Reflect up. However, on the perfect opportunity to attack again, Samos misses another Headbutt before getting dropped back into yellow health. The next Headbutt finally hits and Quilava goes down. I couldn't risk being burned by a Flame Wheel any longer, so that's why I went for the second Headbutt after missing. Sneasel is third and loses half of its health to Headbutt before lowering Samos' speed with an Icy Wind. Sneasel doesn't have any moves that deal big damage to Samos, so I take this opportunity to heal up with Synthesis before taking it down with the second Headbutt. I should have set up Reflect here and healed with my final Synthesis, but hindsight is always 20/20. Haunter is fourth and he goes for a Curse, while Samos takes it down to red health with a Razor Leaf before going down the next turn to a Shadow Ball. David is up, and for some odd reason, Haunter goes for Mean Look, while David puts it to sleep with Spore. David then takes down the Haunter with the Bullet Seed. Magnemite is last, and David immediately outspeeds it and puts it to sleep. I then hard swap to Deku to try and put this thing on a timer. Deku, in standard Deku fashion, misses the first Leech Seed but connects the second one. Deku then misses the Egg Bomb as Magnemite goes for Thunder Wave. I've seen this too many times. I am not losing to this thing again due to bad RNG. Magnemite misses the Supersonic as David lands the second Egg Bomb to deal a large amount of damage. David then takes down the Magnemite next turn with an Egg Bomb and finally ends the 4th Silver battle. The worst part about all of this is that the next Silver battle is even harder than this one. Now that Silver 4 is done, we can finish up the Radio Tower arc by taking on Archer. The battle starts off well enough with Deku going down to Houndour without doing any damage after missing an Egg Bomb and flinching from the second Fire Fang. David then gets one shot by Fire Fang. Zook came in and was able to paralyze it and deal a little damage to it thanks to good paralysis luck before going down. Midori was able to come in and finish off the Houndour. Coughing comes in next and starts spamming smoke screens, while Midori starts missing acids. Midori and Coughing trade acid for sludge, and Midori gets poisoned off the sludge. Coughing goes for haze for some reason before getting paralyzed next turn, as Midori continues to deal a little damage at a time with acid before going down to sludge. Samos comes in next and immediately drops the Coughing. I was feeling pretty confident at this point before Archer sent in his Houndoom. Samos did about a third of his health with Headbutt before taking a massive Fire Fang. I have Samos set up a Reflect next turn, which allows him to tank the second Fire Fang. Samos spends a couple turns healing with Synthesis while tanking Houndoom's Fire Fangs before dropping it to under half health with the Headbutt. Samos heals up again with the Synthesis, tanks the Fire Fang, and is ready to put the radio tower away. Samos sets up one more Reflect, heals with Synthesis, tanks a Fire Fang, heals one more time, then gets burned by Fire Fang. The Headbutt wasn't enough to take it down the next turn, but Samos got the lucky flinch and was able to take down the Houndoom the next turn, winning the battle. That was way too close. With that, the radio tower arc is finally done, and I have to say that was easily the hardest radio tower I've had in a long time. There were so many poison types running around, making my life a living hell. If you think that the hard part is over, you haven't seen anything yet. The hardest battles are still yet to come, featuring Lance and his 3 Dragonites and a Charizard, as well as Silver Battle number 5. Before we get to any of that, we need to take on Claire for the final gym badge. Before we head to Claire, I capture the 6th and final member of the squad, a Tangela that I named Pearl. Shoutouts to anyone who gets the reference. Pearl is modest in nature, which is big. I spent some time getting her up to speed with the rest of the squad. During the grind, she learns Ancient Power and evolves into Tangrowth. So, here's the team. We have Deku, Zook, Midori, David, Pearl, and Samos. I will give a special shout out in the next challenge video to anyone who correctly guesses where all 6 of these names came from. Leave a comment down below letting me know your guesses as well as what you think of the team. With the team up to speed, I pushed through the ice cavern with no issues and prepared to battle Claire for the right to take on the Elite Four. Shortly before the battle starts, I decide to put in a few more levels on the rest of the team and use my second Leaf Stone to evolve Zook into Victory Bell. Here's the team going into the Claire battle. Let's do this. My life is nothing but pain. The battle opens up with David taking on Gyarados. Gyarados does 40 damage with a Dragon Rage before getting put to sleep by a Spore. With Gyarados asleep, I hard swap to Deku to try and get a Leech Seed off. Gyarados gets the turn 2 Wake though, and deals a good chunk of damage with Bite before getting seeded by Deku. I decided to keep Deku in and try to put this thing back to sleep so I could save Spore for another one of Claire's team members, but Deku misses the first Hypnosis attempt. Deku connects the second one, but not before going down to low health from another Bite. The Egg Bomb and Leech Seed next turn is able to bring Gyarados down to red health, causing Claire to use the first Hyper Potion. I made a misplay on this turn and had Deku go for the Hypnosis, as I thought Claire used full restores, and I wanted to immediately put the Gyarados back to sleep to keep stalling it. Gyarados wakes up the next turn and hits a nasty bite for big damage. However, I was ready for it and put it right back to sleep with Hypnosis the same turn. Another Egg Bomb and Leech Seed combo puts Gyarados back to yellow health as Gyarados loses another turn to sleep. Deku came in clutch and took down Gyarados the next turn with an Egg Bomb. Dragonair is next, and this thing is nasty. It outspeeds Deku and immediately drops him with a Fire Blast. Despite having 85% accuracy, Claire will never miss a single Fire Blast. Spoiler alert. David then comes in and gets one-shot by the Fire Blast. Samos is third and gets a clutch flinch on Dragonair while dealing around a third of its health. Samos lands another big headbutt to bring it down to low yellow health before getting paralyzed with Thunder Wave. Samos pushed through paralysis the next turn to drop the Dragonair, but not before losing almost half its health from a Fire Blast. Kingdra is next, and in typical Heart Gold and Soul Silver fashion, it goes for Smokescreen and Samos gets fully paralyzed. Kingdra uses a powerful Dragon Pulse to drop Samos to low red health, but he heals up with a Synthesis. Next turn, Samos gets fully paralyzed, then drops to a Dragon Pulse and Hydro Pump from Kingdra. Midori comes in and misses the Poison Powder while tanking a Dragon Pulse. Midori drops to low yellow health the next turn, but connects on the Poison Powder. It is such a shame that Toxic is a post-game only TM in this game. The next Dragon Pulse finishes off Midori. Pearl is next and Kingdra sets up the Smokescreen again. I decided that I needed to swing for game now, so I have Pearl set up a couple growths. However, I didn't realize just how bad Pearl's special defense was, and a Dragon Pulse drops her well below half health and finish her off next turn. Zook is last, and he goes down to a couple of Dragon Pulses. That was rough. Third attempt and we get this. The Deku-Gyarados matchup goes the same way as previously shown, so I'll just skip to the Dragonair fight to save time. We pick up with Samos taking on Dragonair as it lands a big Fire Blast to deal almost half his health. Samos does good damage with a headbutt, but gets paralyzed from Thunder Wave. Samos comes in clutch the next turn though, as he tanks another Fire Blast, pushes through paralysis, and drops the Dragonair with a headbutt. Kingdra is back and instantly dissolves Samos with a Dragon Pulse. I send in David, but he gets instantly crit and one-shot by Dragon Pulse. Today is just not his day. I go out to Zook next and miss the Poison Powder after Kingdra went for Smokescreen. The exact same thing happened the next turn. The turn after though, Zook lands a Poison Powder at -2 accuracy and tanks the Dragon Pulse in the process. That was a big turn for us. Kingdra then misses the Hydro Pump and Zook connects a Razor Leaf to drop it to yellow health when Kingdra eats the Citrus Berry. Zook goes down next turn to a Dragon Pulse. Deku is back again and lands a big Leech Seed after being hit by a Smokescreen. That was insanely clutch. The next turn, Kingdra goes for Hyper Beam to deal over half of Deku's health as he lands a crit Egg Bomb at -1 accuracy to drop the Kingdra. Deku is coming in insanely clutch right now. Last is Dragonair number 2, and Deku lands another reduced accuracy Leech Seed to put her final team member on a timer. Deku goes down the next turn to a Dragon Pulse. Deku is the reason why we are in the position we are in right now, all because he clutched up big with reduced accuracy. I send out Midori, who loses a quarter of her health to Dragon Pulse and misses the Poison Powder. Dragonair paralyzes Midori next turn with Thunder Wave, and Midori gets fully paralyzed. The next turn, Midori misses another Poison Powder while getting hit by a Dragon Pulse, and I genuinely thought I was about to get RNG screwed after having all of that insane luck a moment ago. However, the next turn, Midori lands a big Stun Spore to paralyze the Dragonair. The next turn, Dragonair gets fully paralyzed as Midori uses Magical Leaf to deal a little bit of damage as Leech Seed takes it down to red health. I wish I would have stuck with Poison Powder though, as that would have finished off the Dragonair here. Unfortunately, Claire uses another Hyper Potion to fully heal the Dragonair. Over the next 4 turns, Midori and Dragonair trade Magical Leafs and Dragon Pulses until Dragonair is left on a sliver of red health again, and before Claire once again fully heals it with a full restore. I know that Dragonair has Shed Skin as it's popped it a couple times now, but I try having Midori go for Stun Spore again just in case I can steal a turn from this thing. Unfortunately though, Shed Skin pops turn 0, then Midori misses another Stun Spore next turn. Midori dodges the slam from Dragonair and connects a Stun Spore on her 3rd attempt. I think Dragonair ran out of Dragon Pulses as it goes for Aqua Tail next turn for almost no damage as Midori drops it to red health with an Acid. Midori tanks the slam the next turn, surviving with only 8 HP before getting fully paralyzed. Leech Seed, however, deals the final blow, taking down Dragonair and winning us our 8th and final gym badge. That was a crazy battle. Midori only got paralyzed twice in the last dozen turns she was in. Incredible fight from our girl to get us the win. A lot of incredible RNG luck went my way, and that is the only reason we were able to win. I was about to grind for more levels if we lost this attempt. However, this match taught me that we are a long ways off from being able to take down Lance. We're gonna need a lot more levels. Before we head to Victory Road, we need to do a couple of side quests, such as taking down the Kimono Girls, which took a couple of attempts but nothing worth noting, and killing the legendary Pokemon in front of the girls who worship it, much to their horror. Anyways, remember Silver? Remember how I said the final battle would be worse than all the other attempts combined? Well, it's here, and it's time to show you what I mean. To add insult to injury, I have to do this fight without David, as I need Krabby on the team for Surf and Waterfall, so I'm doing this battle a man down. This is going to be rough. The final silver battle is underway, and it opens up with Deku taking on Sneasel. Sneasel opens up with a strong feint attack for 44 damage, while Deku misses an Egg Bomb. Sneasel then crits the next feint attack, as Deku misses another Egg Bomb and goes down to Quick Attack the turn after. Hot start from Deku. Pearl is next, and Sneasel went for a powerful Quick Attack to deal a whopping 8 damage. Pearl follows up with an Ancient Power to deal about 3/4 of its health. Sneasel then goes for another Quick Attack for some reason, as Pearl takes it down with an Ancient Power. No Omni Boosts were obtained though. Golbat is next and lands a Confuse Ray, but Pearl pushes through and lands another Ancient Power to do maybe 2/3 of Golbat's health. The following Air Cutter deals about half of Pearl's health when she snaps out of confusion and drops the Golbat with an Ancient Power. So far so good, but Pearl only has one Ancient Power left. Next up is Typhlosion, and it was fun while it lasted. Typhlosion outspeeds and finishes off Pearl with Lava Plume, then lands a massive Lava Plume again on Midori to drop her to low yellow health, and burning her in the process as she connects a Poison Powder. I should have went for Stun Spore here in hindsight. Midori goes down the next turn to a Lava Plume. Samos is next, and he goes for Strength to take Typhlosion down to half health. The reason Samos has Strength right now instead of Headbutt is because I needed a Strength user on the team to get through Victory Road. It was either teach Samos Strength or have to bench a second team member to get through Victory Road, because Krabby couldn't learn it. I'll relearn Headbutt after this battle though. Anyways, the following Lava Plume dropped Samos all the way down to 27 HP. That wasn't a crit. I made an interesting play here and had Samos go for Synthesis, as Typhlosion for some reason went for Flame Wheel instead of Lava Plume. Was this a misplay on my part? I'll let you decide down below. If I went for Strength, Poison might have killed, but Samos would have gone down. However, with this play, Samos was able to take down Typhlosion with a Strength. Maybe poisoning it was the right play. It was still extremely aggressive of me to heal Samos with Synthesis like that. Haunter is fourth, and Samos somehow outspeeds it and goes for Synthesis before Haunter could take him out with Shadow Ball. I have Samos go for the Razor Leaf here instead of switching out, as Haunter drops him to red health with the Shadow Ball. Samos goes for Synthesis for the next couple turns, as Haunter keeps going for Shadow Balls. The turn after, Samos goes for Razor Leaf to take Haunter to under half health. Samos heals up again with Synthesis and drops the Haunter with another Razor Leaf. Well played, Samos. Fifth is Kadabra, and I make a massive misplay here. I went for Strength instead of Razor Leaf, and Kadabra survives on a sliver of health. However, insane luck comes my way as Samos survives the Psybeam with 4 HP and drops the Kadabra with Strength. Samos is putting in an insane amount of work. Last is Magneton, and Samos crits a Razor Leaf right out of the gate to take this theme down to half health. I didn't heal here because Samos was out of Synthesis. Had he had more, he would probably have been able to 1v1 this thing. However, Magneton takes him down with a crit spark. Samos fought extremely well. Last is Zook, because I can only use 5 members here, and he outspeeds the Magneton to land a Razor Leaf to deal a little damage as Magneton connects the Thunder Wave. Do you want to know why Pokemon is the worst turn-based game on the market? It's because of battles like you're about to see now. Zook, in the easy 1v1 matchup that he should win, gets confused the next turn. It took Magneton 5 turns to take down Zook. And do you know what happens in these 5 turns? Zook gets crit once by Magnet Bomb, hurts himself in confusion twice, and gets fully paralyzed twice, only getting to attack once, which left Magneton in low red health. This was the RNG screwing of a lifetime. I am so glad I didn't have my mic on when I was recording this, because I was fuming while suffering through this. After all of those smart plays and clever moves I made, this was how it ended. What makes matters even worse is that I had to fight this with a Mon down, so I could bring an HM Mon because nothing on my team learned Surf or Waterfall. If I had David on the team, I would have won this fight first try. I just want to put that out there. Attempt after attempt after attempt, and I could not replicate that first attempt or get anything close to it. That Typhlosion just tears through everything it fights, and no matter what I tried, I just could not get the same run as my first attempt. So I decided to spend a couple hours and grind the team up to level 45 and try again. I gave all my rare candies to Deku to get him up to level 47. What you're about to see is the best attempt I could get with the team at level 45. This attempt opens up with Pearl taking on Sneasel. Sneasel has absolutely nothing for Pearl, so I have her set up 3 growths while Sneasel struggles to deal damage. Pearl then goes for Mega Drain, one-shot Sneasel, and gets up to 1 HP shy of full. Golbat is next, and Pearl tanks the Air Cutter before blowing this thing back to last week with an Ancient Power. Typhlosion is third, and I hard swap Zukin to get one-shot by the Lava Plume. Maybe land an attack on the enemy instead of yourself, idiot. Deku is up next, and he survives a Lava Plume just to miss the Hypnosis. This entire playthrough has been Deku missing every move he goes for when it matters. I actually contemplated benching him and capturing a new Execute in his place and hope for better RNG. That's how bad he was. However, what saved the battle and Deku's job was Typhlosion going for Flame Wheel and Deku surviving on 6 HP and landing the Hypnosis. Typhlosion actually stayed asleep for more than 1 turn, which allowed Deku to land the Leech Seed. Typhlosion stayed asleep for a 2nd turn, but Deku missed the Egg Bomb. Typhlosion woke up on the 3rd turn and finished Deku with a Flame Wheel. Samos is up and lands a Strength to take Typhlosion down to under half health. Typhlosion followed up with the Lava Plume to take Samos down to 39 HP. I make a ballsy play here again and go for Synthesis, anticipating the Flame Wheel again. It actually paid off, and the Typhlosion did go for Flame Wheel. It still did a ton of damage as Typhlosion was in Blaze range, but Samos had slightly more HP than if he would have just went for Strength and finished it off. Samos took down Typhlosion next turn with a Strength. Haunter is 4th, and the battle goes very similar to the last one I mentioned, with Samos trading Synthesis and Razor Leafs with Haunter's Shadow Ball. However, Haunter for some reason went for Curse, taking himself down to red health. I pivot the strategy off of this and hard swap out to Midori, who tanks the incoming Shadow Ball. Her special defense drops though. However, instead of punishing the special defense drop with another Shadow Ball, Haunter goes for Confuse Ray, which Midori pushes through and takes it down with a Magical Leaf. Kadabra is 5th, and for some reason sets up a Reflect. while Midori snaps out of confusion and lands a clutch stun spore to paralyze the Kadabra. Midori is at -1 special defense and Silver is refusing to attack her. The following Psybeam from Kadabra takes Midori to under half health, while her Magical Leaf Retaliation does the same. Kadabra gets fully paralyzed, and Midori takes it down with Magical Leaf the next turn. Almost there. We are so close to ending the misery. Last is Magneton, and the non-flashbacks with Zook are hitting hard right now. Magneton crits the Magnet Bomb, and Midori somehow survives with 19 HP left. Midori clutches up yet again and lands a stun spore on Magneton to paralyze it as well. Magneton then gets fully paralyzed as Midori lands a Magical Leaf to take around a quarter of its health. Midori then survives on 1 HP after the next Magnet Bomb and lands another Magical Leaf to take Magneton down to about a third of his health. Magneton then gets fully paralyzed again as Midori pushes through paralysis to drop Magneton to a sliver of red health again. I'm getting extreme deja vu right now. Magneton then takes down Midori with a Spark the next turn. She fought extremely hard. Samos comes back in, outspeeds the Magneton, and lands a Razor Leaf to finish it off and end what had become over 3 hours of torture and hell. That was a brutal battle. Just like the Claire battle, it took an insane amount of luck to win. I then remembered that I still have to fight Lance. Up next is the Elite Four. Before battling the Elite Four, I trained up the team to the low level 50s. I will disclose something here with you all because I love being transparent with you. I used an EXP multiplier during the grind to speed things up. The grind would have taken me many hours to do. The end result was still the same, I just sped the process up. I don't know why anyone would care about me using a multiplier for this grind, but just in case, here you go. Here is the team going into the Elite Four. Let me know your final thoughts on this team down below. Let's do this. First up is Will, and it opens up with David taking on his first Xatu. Xatu fails a me first, and David connects the spore to put it to sleep. I got the full 3 turns of sleep out of Xatu, which allowed David to take it down with 3 slashes. None of them were crits though, but who cares? The job got done. Second is Xatu number 2, and it opens with a powerful aerial ace to take David down to 33 HP as he puts it to sleep with Spore. I wouldn't be so lucky with this one, as it gets the turn 1 wake and drops David with a Psychic. I send in Pearl second, and Xatu lands the Confuse Ray as Pearl pushes through it and lands an Ancient Power to take the Xatu down to red health before the Citrus heals it back up to yellow. Pearl tanks the Psychic from Xatu and takes it down with Ancient Power. Jinx is third for Will, and it goes for a strong Psychic to take Pearl down to 31 HP before she lands a powerful Ancient Power to crit and one-shot it. Fourth is Exeggutor, and it promptly drops Pearl with a Psychic. Third for Team J Goebs is Samos, who goes for Body Slam for decent damage as Exeggutor goes for the Reflect. Exeggutor lands the Hypnosis next turn after Samos takes it down to half health with another Body Slam. Just by my luck, Samos stays asleep for all 3 turns, which allows Exeggutor to take him down with 3 Psychics. That was bad. Fourth for me is Zook, who is able to outspeed the Exeggutor and take it down with an Acid. Last up for Will is Slowbro, who gets one-shot by a Leaf Blade. Zook needed that round. He didn't do much, but he got a couple easy kills to make up for the rough silver fights. The next battle is against Koga. The round 2 battle opens up with Zook taking on Ariados. Ariados gets fully paralyzed after Zook opens up by landing a Stun Spore. The following Leaf Blade does hardly any damage as Ariados goes for Spiderweb. Neither of us has anything for the other, so we both trade an Acid and Poison Jab next turn, neither doing hardly any damage to the other. This goes on for a couple more turns until Koga uses a full restore to bring it back up to full. Koga then makes an interesting play by hard swapping the Ariados out to Venomoth. Zook misses the stun spore because why not? Zook connects the second stun spore though, as Venomoth takes him down with a psychic. Pearl is up second and I have her set up a reflect as Venomoth does slightly over a quarter of her health with the psychic. I was originally going to have Pearl go for ancient power here, but after seeing how little damage psychic did, I have her set up a couple growths as Venomoth hits one psychic, then loses a turn to paralysis. Pearl goes for ancient power the next turn and one-shots the Venomoth. She then also one-shots the Ariados with ancient power. Next up for Koga is Muck. Pearl goes for Mega Drain and does about a quarter of health to it before tanking a gunk shot and somehow surviving on 5 HP. The following turn, Pearl takes Muck down to half health with Mega Drain before going down to another gunk shot. The only reason I started using Mega Drains here was because I ran out of ancient powers on Pearl. David is next and lands a quick spore to put Muck to sleep. I hard swap to Deku to try and seed this thing, but my bad luck continues as Muck gets the turn 1 wake, something I never get, and lands a third consecutive gunk shot to drop Deku to low yellow health. He lands a big hypnosis next turn and puts this thing back to sleep. Deku connects the leech seed the next turn as Muck loses 1 turn to sleep. Muck then wakes up on turn 2 because I can't have nice things and drops Deku with gunk shot. I would like to point out that Gunk Shot is a 70% accurate move, and Koga is currently 4 for 4 on them. David comes back out and lands a spore to put this thing back to sleep. A slash from David next turn finishes it. Fourth for Koga is Crobat, and this thing terrifies me. Crobat goes for Wing Attack, which David somehow survives and puts it to sleep with Spore. Crobat stayed asleep for 2 turns, which allowed David to take it to under half health and trigger the Citrus Berry before going down to a quick attack. David put in good work there. Midori is up next and she gets crit by Wing Attack, survives, and lands the Attract on Crobat. Crobat then shows his affection for Midori by killing her with a Poison Fang the next turn. Samos is up and he tanks the Wing Attack with over half health, then crits the Body Slam to drop the Crobat. The reason I didn't set up Reflect and Heal with Synthesis is because I only have a few Elixirs and Ethers for the team, and I wanted to save them for as long as possible, and didn't want to burn Synthesis uses until I absolutely had to. Last up for Koga is Fortress, and I'm just going to speed through this one to save us all time. Fortress loves to spam Protect and deal a little damage in between to Samos. Samos doesn't do a lot of damage to Fortress either, so the two end up trading blows for what felt like forever, with Koga full restores here and there just to prolong the eternal stalemate. Eventually, Fortress finally goes down after a 3-year-long battle. If you're wondering why this video took so long to come out, blame this battle. Bruno is third, and I have been waiting for a battle like this the entire playthrough. The battle opens up with Zook taking on Hitmontop. Zook lands the big poison powder, while Hitmontop digs a hole. I hard swap to Pearl as Dig does a whopping 9 damage. This gave me an idea. I had Pearl set up a Reflect as Hitmontop went for Dig again. I had Pearl then set up 4 growths and then set up a new Reflect while Hitmontop kept trying to go for counter for some reason. After Bruno healed up the Hitmontop with a full restore, Pearl one-shot it with Mega Drain, getting back up to full health. She then went on to one-shot Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, 2-shot Machamp, and one-shot the Onix for the win. Who would have thought the easiest battle of the game would be an Elite 4 trainer? It was through this battle that I remember just how difficult this challenge has been. We are only 2 trainers away though from ending it in victory. Let's press onwards. The final member of the Elite Four is Karen, and I'm not gonna lie, the script of this video is already 25 pages long, so I'm just gonna disclose that this battle took 2 tries after her Houndoom reverse swept my entire team. So to save time, I'm just gonna show that second attempt so I can talk more about the Lance fight and the pure nightmare that turned into. The rematch opens up with Zook versus Umbreon. Zook lands a big poison powder while Umbreon sets up a double team. Zook follows up with an acid as Umbreon goes for a second double team. Zook somehow lands another acid on Umbreon despite being at +2 evasion as Umbreon lands a Confuse Ray. Zook, the absolute unit that he is, pushes through confusion, ignores the +2 evasion, and lands a big Leaf Blade to crit and drop the Umbreon before Karen could use a full restore on it. Second for Karen is Murkrow, and Zook hits himself in confusion before Murkrow, for some reason, uses Whirlwind to force out Zook into Samos. That worked out well for me. Samos goes for a powerful body slam and takes over half of Murkrow's health and paralyzes it all in one. Murkrow goes for Pluck, which does surprisingly little damage, and Samos sets up a light screen in anticipation for the Houndoom and goes for a Synthesis as Murkrow keeps plucking at him. Samos finishes it off next turn with a Body Slam. Speaking of Houndoom, Houndoom is up next and Samos outspeeds it, lands a Body Slam, and paralyzes it. Huge play from Samos as Houndoom sets up a nasty plot. Samos hits another Body Slam next turn to take it down to yellow health before going down to Flamethrower. With Houndoom being paralyzed, Pearl was able to come in, outspeed, and finish it off with an Ancient Power. Had it not got paralyzed, Houndoom would have swept my team for a second time. Fourth is Vileplume, a team member I probably should have had on the squad instead of Deku. Pearl gets the free growth off as Vileplume misses the Stun Spore. Pearl then gets a second free growth off as Vileplume misses a second Stun Spore. I decided not to get greedy and had Pearl go for Ancient Power, taking Vileplume down to under half health as it finally connected a Stun Spore. The acid from Vileplume did almost half of Pearl's health before a second Ancient Power takes it down. Last is Gengar, and it misses the Focus Blast and goes down to low yellow health after Pearl smacked it with an Ancient Power. Karen uses the full restore, and Pearl takes it right back down again with an Ancient Power. Gengar then, for some reason, goes for Destiny Bond as Pearl gets fully paralyzed. Does Karen know that I have more Pokemon in the back? She must not, because she doubles down as Gengar goes for Destiny Bond again. Pearl goes for a Mega Drain and takes down Gengar, which takes Pearl down with it. That was definitely one of the ways to end a battle. Pearl had incredible paralysis luck though. She was absolutely the MVP of this Elite Four run. There is only one battle left before I can say that I took down Pokemon Soul Silver using only Grass type Pokemon. However, the champion that stands in my way is one of the strongest in the entire series, and every single one of his team members has type advantage over my entire team. This is going to be rough, but here goes nothing. The final battle opens up with Midori taking on Gyarados. Gyarados misses the Ice Fang as Midori gets the Attract off. Gyarados is immobilized by Love while Midori lands the Poison Powder to try and stall this thing. Lance's Gyarados loves to set up with Dragon Dance, and I want to prevent that at all costs. Gyarados then pushes through Love and bites Midori with an Ice Fang, which doesn't do nearly as much damage as I thought it would. However, Midori flinches. As Gyarados is once again immobilized by Love and Midori lands an Acid combined with poison damage, Gyarados is left with just over half health. Gyarados then loses 2 turns back to back as Midori is able to take it down with the help of poison damage. Charizard is next, and I think we all know where this one is going. Midori somehow tanks an Air Slash on 7 HP and lands the Attract. However, Charizard doesn't care about trivial things such as Love and takes down Midori with Dragon Claw. Charizard then one-shot David with Fire Fang and two-shot Deku with Air Slash and Fire Fang after making him flinch. Samos was able to paralyze Charizard with the body slam after setting up a light screen and using synthesis to stay healthy, but I didn't have enough synthesis to stay in very long, and a crit Fire Fang dropped Samos. Charizard then one-shot Pearl with Air Slash and finished the fight off by two-shotting Zook with Air Slash. He even tanked a crit Leaf Blade and then healed back up to full just to add insult to injury. That was a rough first attempt. The second attempt goes a little better. To keep things simple, Midori and Pearl were able to team up and take down the Gyarados. Deku took down the Charizard, somehow. He then soloed the first Dragonite with the help of Great Sleep Luck, and Dragonite missing a Blizzard before getting taken down by Aerodactyl. I had Zook come in, who survived an Aerial Ace, but I made a massive misplay here and went for Stun Spore, which missed. You'll see why that was a misplay here in a minute. Aerodactyl then crit Samos, and that's how attempt number 2 ended. Not bad, but I need an insane amount of RNG to go my way. I made a couple more attempts and realized that in order to defeat Lance at this point, I needed an unrealistic amount of RNG to go my way. I would need every high-powered move to miss and get 3 turns of sleep for every Spore and Hypnosis that I land. I would also not be able to miss a single move. That amount of RNG isn't worth endlessly grinding attempts for what might be possible. So I spend some time grinding up the team to the low level 60s and give this another try. I thought about going to the mid 50s as that might be enough to work in my favor. However, I only had enough ethers and elixirs for one more Elite Four run. It was now or never. Here is the improved team going into the final Lance rematches. Let's do this. Attempt number 1 for the team at level 60. The battle opens up with Deku taking on Gyarados. Deku lands the Leech Seed at the beginning, but gets crit by an Ice Fang to drop to a little over half health. Deku then lands a big Hypnosis to put the Gyarados to sleep. Deku connects an Egg Bomb to take Gyarados down to half health as he loses a turn to sleep. Deku then connects a second straight Egg Bomb to take Gyarados down to low red health. Unfortunately, Gyarados wakes up and for some reason goes for Flail to do almost no damage, allowing Leech Seed to finish him off at the end of the turn. I got really lucky there. Second for Lance is Charizard, the beast that tears my team limb from limb. Charizard, for the first time in all of my attempts, goes for a Shadow Claw for some odd reason, and does little damage before Deku connects a Hypnosis, putting him to sleep. Deku gets lucky here and gets Charizard to stay asleep while he lands a Leech Seed. Deku misses the following Egg Bomb, but Charizard gives me a second turn of sleep. I'm able to get the third turn of sleep and connect the Egg Bomb to drop Charizard to under half health. In hindsight, I should have hard swapped Pearl in here to drop it with an Ancient Power and try for the Omni Boost off of it. Deku is too important with Hypnosis and Leech Seed right now to be risked like this. Anyways, Charizard wakes up here and goes for Shadow Claw again for some reason. Deku lands another Egg Bomb, which drops Charizard with the help of Leech Seed damage. Deku has taken the 2v1 and is still standing. This is a great start. Third for Lance's Dragonite number 1. Dragonite lands the Thunder Wave as Deku misses the Hypnosis. This is where it all falls apart, isn't it? Dragonite misses a Blizzard the next turn, but Deku gets fully paralyzed before he can punish. Dragonite lands the second Blizzard, but Deku hangs on with 9 HP, but gets fully paralyzed again. Dragonite takes down Deku the next turn with a Blizzard. Strong start, but a weak finish for Deku. Midori is next, and the Dragonite goes for Thunder Wave right away. Midori pushes through and lands the Attract. Dragonite loses a turn to Attract, but Midori loses a turn to Paralysis, so a neutral play. Dragonite then crits a Blizzard, because of course he did, to take Midori down to 16 HP. Midori then comes in clutch and lands a big Poison Powder on the Dragonite. I needed to get this thing on a timer bad. Dragonite then lands another Blizzard to drop Midori. That was Dragonite's last blizzard, and I was keeping count. So I send in David because I realized I needed the other squad members for Lance's other team, and I couldn't risk them on this first Dragonite. Dragonite goes for the Thunder Wave right out of the gate, and David loses a turn to Paralysis. My Paralysis right now is terrible. Dragonite lands a Dragon Rush to take David down to half health, as David loses a second turn in a row to being fully paralyzed. Dragonite follows up by going for a Hyper Beam, which David survives somehow, and follows up by landing a Slash. Dragonite needs to recharge, so Lance can't use a full restore. So David pushes through Paralysis and takes down the Dragonite with Slash. That was insane. That was potentially a game-changing recharge for Lance. He would have taken David out with a Dragon Rush. Dragonite just got soloed by a Parasect. Fourth for Lance is Aerodactyl, who promptly finishes off David with Aerial Ace. I'm so proud of David. I don't care what any of you say, adding David to the team for this challenge was a great decision. I send in Zook next, and you remember when I said that the decision to use Stun Spore on Aerodactyl on attempt 2 was a misplay, and you'd find out why? Well, here's your answer why. Zook survives the Aerial Ace again, and Zook connects the Stun Spore this time. The following turn, Zook outspeeds the Aerodactyl and one-shots it with a non-crit Leaf Blade. It was here I realized I didn't need to Stun Spore. I could have just one-shot it the entire time with Leaf Blade. Fifth for Lance is his ace, a level 50 Dragonite. Zook misses the Stun Spore and gets one-shot by a Fire Blast. This is going to be a tough one now. Samos is up next, and I need a big performance out of him to pull this off. Samos sets up the light screen as Dragonite lands the Fire Blast for way less damage than I thought it would do. Samos then pulls off the performance of a lifetime by going for Body Slam, critting, and getting the Paralysis off. That just swung things back in my favor, as Dragonite goes for Safeguard. Samos then lands another Body Slam as Dragonite loses a turn to full Paralysis. Samos then lands another Body Slam to take Dragonite down to just a sliver of red health, and against all odds, Dragonite goes for Hyper Beam, dealing hardly any damage to Samos. But that means that Lance can't fully heal the Dragonite because now it has to recharge, which lets Samos take down the Dragonite next turn with a Body Slam. I wish I had my mic on for this because I was losing my mind watching this all play out. Last up for Lance is his third and final Dragonite. Samos sets up a new light screen as Dragonite paralyzes him with Thunder Wave. Next turn, Dragonite flinches Samos with a Dragon Rush. I catch a break next turn as Dragonite misses the Dragon Rush, letting Samos heal up with Synthesis. Dragonite then crits his next Dragon Rush to one-shot Samos. This is bad. Pearl is up next, and Dragonite lands the Thunder Wave as Pearl sets up Reflect. Dragonite goes for Thunder for some reason, which does almost nothing, allowing Pearl to set up a Growth. I decided not to get greedy as I was so close to victory, so I have Pearl go for Ancient Power after Dragonite landed another Thunder. The Ancient Power takes Dragonite all the way down to a sliver of red health. Lance uses the full restore to heal up Dragonite, and Pearl pushes past Paralysis to land another Ancient Power, dropping Dragonite down to red health again. But this time, for the first time in the playthrough, Pearl actually got the Omni Boost. I am one Ancient Power away from victory. Dragonite cannot take a +2 Ancient Power. I just need one more turn. The next turn, with victory on the line, Lance heals up the Dragonite to full via full restore, and Pearl pushes through Paralysis to land a final Ancient Power, one-shotting the Dragonite, winning us the battle, and completing the challenge. That was a crazy finish. I started off the battle with really bad paralysis luck, but turned it around with Pearl in the end to clutch up a massive win with an Omni boost. This was easily one of the hardest Pokemon challenges I have ever done, but I had a ton of fun working on it. I'm sorry for the delay in getting this video out to you all, but this project took so much longer than I expected. I really hope you enjoyed this video and feel it was worth the wait. I would say the MVP of this challenge would be Samos the Meganium. When this team was struggling with a lack of true firepower, Samos would always step up to be a force we needed, as well as a consistent defensive presence regardless of who we were facing. I'm gonna give the surprise member award to Midori the Blossom. I normally run Vileplume over Blossom, so I didn't have too much experience running her. She turned out better than I thought and became a solid special defense tank. I'm also really happy to have had David the Parasect on the team. Watching him take down a Dragonite was incredible, and I will remember that 1v1 for a long time. I want to take a quick moment to thank you all for watching this video. Whether you watched a little bit of it or the entire thing in one sitting or multiple, your support means the world to me. If you want to see another challenge video of mine with an insane ending, you should check out my Pokemon Black 2 video, where I attempted to beat the game using only bug-type Pokemon. The next challenge video on this channel will have us return to the Hoenn region. However, what the challenge is something you'll just have to wait around and find out. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the next challenge video, or just enjoy the content on this channel in general, it would mean a lot to me if you would consider subscribing. Please help me defeat the 616 curse. You should also come hang out with me live here on the channel. I go live every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and would love to see you stop by and say hi. With all that being said, I'm gonna get up out of here. Until next time, everyone. Bye for now.